It's brother to brother.
Brother!
Yeah, we had a nice Christmas. It was chill.
Very,
Pretty
very
fun.
relaxed.
Yeah.
Hardest part for me is I am going through like the beginning phases of the first phase of my life of empty nesting.
Right, because your kids are leaving you.
Yeah. Well, the two don't live with me. They live
Right.
with their mom. And then the other two, one's going away to college in 2 weeks.
To Hawaii.
To Hawaii.
Mukalakahiki.
That's right. And then my oldest son is going to college probably in Santa Barbara in the spring.
But he's going somewhere.
But he's going away. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, most of our life, our family, most of us have lived in the same city. My wife's family, most of them they've lived in the same city.
Right.
But I'll be the first one that all of the kids live in a different city.
Well, not all of them.
Well, no, the baby. That would be phase 2. That's the phase 2
So
of
you
empty
made
nesting.
sure to back it up. You're
Yeah.
smart.
That's right. We're rebooting.
Yeah, you're just rebooting.
Like you avoid the long-term empty nest syndrome by having more children.
Yeah, I guess that's the benefit of being married young and having a family is once that marriage fails, you can always just start
Do it
another
again.
one.
You can just go for it again.
Just do it again.
Just try and be better this time,
That's yeah.
Let's
So
try
what,
and be a little bit better. It's depressing, man. It's like holidays are really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything's good, everybody's around, it's really fun, but then when they're gone doing their thing, and you're just like kind of like, oh man, it's quiet.
Right.
It's a stressful, weird time in middle-aged life that I didn't think about until it's on you. There's something like you read about it and then it's not a thing until it's a thing, and then you're like, oh, this is actually a pretty big deal.
So what are you doing like to
Cry a lot,
get a lot of tears?
a lot of tears.
But are you doing any therapy or are you talking to somebody? other
I'm
than me?
reading. I read.
What are you reading?
I read a lot of stuff like online about handling this kind of transition in life. I watch videos from like psychologists about like processing it.
So
Yeah,
what?
I journal, write down ideas and
That's
thoughts.
good.
And
Yeah,
things like just putting those things on paper seems to be one of the bigger helpful things.
Writing your feelings helps.
Isn't that weird?
Um.
Do you feel we grew up in a feelings family?
Yes. Only feelings.
It's interesting because I think that like that's true and also a little not true.
Well, no. It was okay. Maybe it wasn't feelings. We grew up in an emotional family.
Yes, that's yeah. We didn't sit down and be like, "Hey, what you've been doing has really been bothering me."
No,
or
we-
"Hey, I'm struggling with this thing."
Yeah, not a lot of that, but
Yeah.
a lot of freedom to scream at each other
The yelling.
and fist fights
Yeah.
and just these like outbursts of emotions, I guess.
Yeah, it's suppress and explode. Suppress and explode. If I looked through my life of frustrations, I would say I have been a suppress and explode, and the key to suppressing is avoiding.
The avoidance.
But you can't
part,
avoid the
yeah.
kids growing up and moving out.
Well, you can. You just don't have kids.
Yeah, or you just handcuff them in the basement, kind of a thing.
Jesus, that's dark. Is that one of your strategies?
It's one of my
Is that-
strategies.
Is that
Yeah.
Plan C? How
It's
far?
hard- It's actually really hard to find police grade handcuffs.
Right.
Yeah, it's not as easy as the TV shows make it seem.
I got some fuzzy ones.
So yeah, you can just push the little button and they unlatch. I mean, my 19-year-old, he'll get out of that eventually.
He's strong.
Yeah, he'll figure out. Oh, that button don't even need a key.
Well, that's why you got a hog tie.
Oh yeah. Then have you seen? There's a bunch of videos that went around. It was like, hey, if you get tied up, here's ways to get out of it. I'm like, I think that like the internet, for all of its usefulness, has also made people way more paranoid about being kidnapped and trapped, and because we know every true crime that's ever happened now, they're like, how many, like, this is a morbid subject, I guess, but how many children do you think get kidnapped a year in America? If you had to guess.
Couple thousand?
Couple thousand. I think it's like between 200 and 300.
Yeah, it's not that
That's
much.
like a really, really tight, and it's almost always a family member that takes them. So it's
Right.
not stranger danger. That's your cousin Doug that you shouldn't be getting close to.
Right.
Cousin Doug's the problem.
I guess there wasn't even a such thing as stranger danger till like 1984.
Yeah, that's the Reagan administration ruined it.
All
for
of that
everyone.
stuff. Yeah, I read a thing. It says like it's the safest time in the history of the universe for a child to roam the streets alone.
Oh, I have this. It's a premise for a joke. It's not even anything, but it's just a thought, I guess. It's like all the adults complain about kids, like when we were younger, getting to go ride our bikes for 7 hours and to the foothills and have all this kind of freedom and, no water kind of thing. And then this my generation is complaining about how kids these days don't do any of that stuff.
Right.
My problem is that we're the parents. The parents of the kids not doing stuff are the parents that did all the stuff.
You're the last. You're the last.
But we're also the ones that stopped it.
Right.
And now we're complaining about them not going out. This is my kid.
Oh, that's interesting.
I won't let them go ride for 7 hours, and I'm like, oh, man, we used to play outside all the time. Yeah, but I'm telling my kid they can't do that.
So
it's
why?
my generation.
Why not be the one that changes it?
I think, why did we change, or why
you, like, with your youngest, the baby, are you going to be like, you can go feral, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he should just, like, he's almost 2. He'll be 2 in April. And probably going to get him a motorcycle at maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, and then just see what happens. Helmet or no helmet, do you think?
You start with no helmet.
No helmet, and just, like, if he falls, he's at the phase now where he runs. He's starting to run. And he no sense of, like, if he's about to go down. So we're in our garage, and he's running full speed as fast as he can go. And he just kind of catches his toe and puts his head straight into the door full speed.
Yeah.
Just giant nod on his head. And I picked him up real quick, and he's bawling. Mama picks him up, and she takes him out of the room, comes back in. He's got a big knot, and I'm like, "Oh, bud, does it hurt?" And he's like, "I go, all right, you ready to run?" Put him down, let him go.
He goes again.
So I think there is something to that, but it's fun. I was like, my generation is the generation that shut down the kids going out and that complains about how much better it was when we were kids.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think a lot of it has to do with societal control.
Yeah, like, oh, you can't. Well, like, if my kid just went to the park by himself and he was like 7,
you would get her.
People would be like, "Hey, where's your parent?"
Yeah,
we walked to school in 2nd and 1st grade.
Oh yeah, I mean, and it was like a mile.
Yeah, you were 6, I was 7. We just got our stuff, walked out the door, and went to school.
Yeah, and then you walked home.
Right, through people's backyards.
Oh, we used to jump fences.
You remember that? We would go through people's backyards.
It's funny. I actually yesterday I was just sitting around. I watched Stand By Me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it was interesting how much.
Are those kids like 12 or are they like 16?
I believe in real life they were like 11.
They were that young?
Yeah.
I didn't realize how young those kids were in the movie. In my mind, I look back and go, they must have been older than we were, but they weren't. They were probably like 10, 11, 12, right?
I mean, I know.
Like, not the actors, the characters.
Because I listened to a Blocks podcast.
Oh, that's a good one.
Jerry O'Connell
was
the chubby kid.
Yeah. He's super buff now.
He was on that, and so that's what made me want to watch it. And I think he was the youngest. I'm pretty sure that like Corey Feldman might have been 14 or something, 15.
Yeah.
And River Phoenix. But anyway, it was interesting how much more like I related to that movie as like how my life was. Like there's this scene where the older kids are just sitting around the car smoking cigarettes.
Yeah.
Guys getting like we used to just hang out.
Yes, right.
It wasn't like hang out, watch a movie. It wasn't. Eventually, it was play video games, but there was a lot of just sitting around.
Stuff was expensive. Well, VHS came out in the 80s.
Right.
And they were like $1,000.
Right.
Which would be like $3-4 grand now. Crazy expensive to watch a movie at home.
Yeah.
And so nobody had those. Atari was new.
Right.
But simple, so you get bored of it. And you're like, it was more fun to create.
Right.
Well, like, okay. So one of the big things that's different now between now and then is the death of the arcade.
Yes.
Okay.
I miss the arcade.
But I think that what killed the arcade. What do you think killed the arcade? I have a theory on this. What do you think?
Well, I would say what killed the arcade was one, parents not wanting their kids to be doing stuff outside alone, and then two, home video game consoles.
As long as home video game consoles didn't look as good as the arcade,
you would still
you were going to go to the arcade, right?
Graphics.
Mortal Kombat looked better than Super Nintendo.
Right.
You had violent fighting games in the arcade. But as soon as the transition, like the Nintendo 64 GoldenEye, you're like, well, we can just play at home. Mortal Kombat's at home. Street Fighter's at home. All these games and they look better or as good.
Better.
I don't have to go to the arcade and spend $0.25 once we buy the game. We can just play it forever.
I just remember, like, getting the PlayStation and playing, like, Tekken or something. and being like, those graphics, man. There's no way
Well,
it's possible.
You're right.
It's gonna get better.
It
than
will
this.
never be better than this.
And now they have like platforms that look completely real.
Yeah, you're like, that's a human.
Right.
That's an actual human.
wild.
I love it. It's so fun. I like the advancement and stuff. I don't have time to play video games anymore.
I tried because I did have some time, and I just did. It didn't. I was like, yeah.
But that's because we're the go play outside generation. It's like there's an element
I need
of
to do
transitional time periods of like, okay, I'm not doing a thing. I'm doing something in between doing a thing.
Right.
And so, okay, I've done this. Now I got to go do the thing. But like my kids, that's the thing.
The thing is what they're doing.
But
yeah.
like in fairness, they have friends. They have a friend that's in the Air Force, and he's on Discord with them, and they play video games, and he's talking to them on Discord while he's on base, and they're more connected to their friend base from
Oh, yeah.
childhood than we are. Like, I'll get a friend request or an add friend on like Facebook or Instagram, and I'm like, who is this?
Right.
Oh, I went to high school with them for 3 years and then junior high for a year or whatever. And I'm like, man, I don't remember this person at all. They're like, I'm like, how do you know that person? I'm like, oh, they were in my first grade class. I'm like, what do you mean they were in your first grade class?
Yeah, which I think that's actually, in some ways, a little better.
Yeah,
than
I
how
think
we have
it
Because
is.
like I'm 45, and like I just moved back here, and I don't have a lot of like male friends here
Right.
because I really built all my like strong relationships back east.
Right.
And I'm not in contact with anyone from grade school, and
Right.
almost nobody from high school.
Yeah.
And I went to college back east, and so it's like I don't have that like extended community here. So I could see that being better in some ways.
I think so. Like, I think that is one of the aspects of social media or tech that just makes life better is that, well, like my kids live at different houses,
Right.
but they can get on their PC, play video games, talk to each other in chat, yell at the video game, and they are connected in a way that proximity doesn't matter anymore. Like the world in many ways is so much smaller for them in terms of being
Right.
able to be connected. But it's also the downside is like they also have access to everything. Like that's, I think, on the parent side is they're like, oh, there's an app you can find out which predators are in your neighborhood.
Right.
You're like, well, that's terrifying. Although I did see a great joke. I think it was Jeff Dye or Dustin Nickerson. He one of them posted it was if you are looking for like extra money or presents this Christmas, just go to a child predator's house and steal from them because they're not allowed to have a weapon.
That's good.
One of those guys. I was like, that's a pretty funny observation.
Yeah. But I don't know if there's, but is
I
there,
don't know if it's better or worse.
but is there
it's
a real
just substantially
substitute
different.
for like just the sitting in a room next to another person and existing with people?
Well, no. I think like you and I recorded a bunch of these on Zoom,
Right.
and they were fun, but they're not.
Not the same.
No, proximity, I think, yeah, it's like dating online
I
versus going on a date.
I need to be close enough to punch you in the face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, right. Luckily, you're just out of reach. I always size.
Yeah.
I size it up. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I can reach you.
I don't think so. Not without leaning. Oh, you get my elbow.
Yeah, well, I'll hurt
You
your elbow.
You could punch my weenus.
It's no nerves. It's the one safe spot on your
It's the
body.
only safe spot.
It's blocking everything with an elbow.
A weenus blocking. Dude.
Oh, okay. So I had this. I had this thing, right? So it's this is actually like what I wanted to ask you. Okay.
Okay.
There's-
I'm nervous.
No, it's just slang terms. Okay. Slang terms.
Okay.
So it's 2024 or 80s. Okay. Or not 80s.
So I'm just saying what year they're from, or do I
Yeah,
need to
or
tell
what you think it is. Okay.
Okay.
So it's going to be it's the 1920s or 2024 20s, right? 2020s.
love it.
Okay. All right. So you got to guess if it's modern or if it's 100 years ago.
Okay.
And then you give me what you think it is. Okay. So we'll start with some easy ones, all right? Cap.
That's modern,
Modern.
and it means it's a lie.
All right. Right. So it's no cap for real. You got that. All right. Bee's knees.
The bee's knees is the old one.
Yeah.
And the bee's knees means like, oh, this is awesome. This is great.
Yes, that's exactly what it
I'm
means.
having a great time.
Yes, exactly. All right. Bussin'.
Bussin' is modern. Bussin' means messing around.
Nope. Bussin' also means amazing, cool, awesome.
Okay.
Exactly like the bee's knees. Bee's knees and bussin',
Same.
synonyms.
Interchangeable.
Yeah, you can use those
I'm
either
gonna
way.
bring back bee's knees, dude.
You should bring it back.
I've been reading some Fitzgerald recently, so I'm all about the old timey talk.
North egg or West egg and East egg.
Yeah.
I love it. All right. Let's see here. 8.
8?
ATE 8.
That's got to be modern, but I have no idea what that means. It's okay. It looks like he ate, meaning like he kicked ass.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Okay.
Yeah. It's being great at something, excelling.
All right. Yeah, I got that.
Nice. All right.
I just ate up that question.
Yeah, you did. Delulu.
Delulu's also modern.
Oh.
It means delusional.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. I wasn't sure if you were
I
gonna
live
know
in
that
Delulu. I'm the captain of Delulu. Yeah.
That's funny. Owl.
Owl. I've never heard it recently. I'm gonna take a stab that it's an old timey.
Okay.
Owl. Use it in a sentence.
If it's
Wait, all right. Owl. So wise.
nope.
Ah.
Someone who stays out late.
Oh, like a night
1920s,
owl.
A night owl.
Ah.
Yeah. Hi hat.
Hi hat is old.
Yep.
It means like jazzy,
No.
like jazzmatazz.
No, that would be more of a fun person. Hi hat was a snob.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay. Because their hats, they can afford a higher hat.
Here's an easy one. Riz.
Riz is like your charisma. It's
Yeah.
modern. I got tons of it.
So my wife and I were walking with our son through the neighborhoods, and there's this like junior high, elementary school kids playing soccer in their front yard, right? And as we were walking, and my wife teaches junior high, so she's around these kids all the time. And she's like, whenever they use modern slang, she just goes, "Oh, that's adorable. That's so cute. You use those words." And they're like, "Mrs. Wells." So, but we're walking by, and this girl goes, "Oh my God, your baby has so much riz."
You got baby Riz.
And
That's amazing.
my wife was just like, "Yeah, thank you. Okay, thank you." And like, "Oh my God, so much riz."
I wonder what he's doing.
He was just sitting. He was just sitting in a stroller.
He's got that thing.
He's just got that thing. It's
aura.
the intangible thing. I didn't know this one. This is a modern one. Beige flag. You know beige
Oh,
flag?
yeah, a beige flag. Okay, so like a red flag would
Re-
be something that somebody's you're on a date and
It's the only people
and
that
she's
available
like,
to
chews with her
middle-aged
mouth
people,
open.
right? Yeah.
Red flag.
I like that. That's the red flag.
Oh.
She chews with her mouth open. It's a red flag.
Red flag.
That's the red flag. That's the I'm done. No
Yeah,
second date.
That's it. I can't.
If you're in your late 30s, I'm sorry. There's no
It's
teaching
over
you
with.
this.
But a beige flag would be like something that it's not your favorite, but you can like get over it. You know.
Okay, yeah. This has it as it's like an odd or quirky thing that's not good or bad.
Right.
So for some people, it might be like, I can't do it. For other people, are like, oh, I actually like it.
I'm trying to think of what a beige flag for me would be.
Goth.
Yeah, but I have that's a red flag.
But some people, that's a green flag.
Right.
They're like, I want
because
it.
they're goth.
But in my mind, I think most people think goth. They're like, I want like Velma from Scooby-Doo wearing black.
Okay, I got one. If you currently have your hair dyed a weird color,
Yep.
red flag. If I see a picture of you 10 years ago and you had your hair dyed a weird color, but now you don't, beige flag.
Oh, okay. I like it. I like that. I like that a lot. I don't care for the trend of people going gray, like dyeing their hair gray.
Yeah, I
I
think
feel you earn it. You earn it.
right.
Whether through bad decisions or just getting old, but you earn it.
I guess you're right.
I also have this new theory that if you can grow your hair out, you're obligated to. You should not shave bald.
Do people just go bald that have
Yeah.
good hair?
Yeah, they can
Who
grow a
does
full head
that?
of hair, and we have
Who
no
would do
people.
that?
Yeah. People like they just think that they look better with
But
the
I
shaved
wonder
basketball
if-
players probably.
But I wonder if it's like super thin on top, and so it's like, well, what's the point?
Well, maybe I don't even know if they know. But like I feel like if you can grow hair, it's rude to bald people to also be bald.
Oh yeah,
You should grow it.
please.
I think even if you got the wraparound, I think we bring that back.
the friar tuck.
You got the friar tuck, the
Not
yarmulke,
the best look.
the reverse yarmulke,
Yeah,
all of it. I don't care if it's the best look. You got
It's-
hair, you grow it.
it's an interesting take for you and I have we've been blessed with nice heads
Yeah.
of hair, right?
You know, when you go to you get your haircut, do they always go, "Oh my gosh, you have so much hair. It's so thick."
Yeah, not always, but yeah, I get that a lot.
Yeah.
I have
It's nice, right?
I have dense hair.
Yeah, and then you look at the guy next to you and you're like, "Why is he even here?
Yeah, I'm like
That guy
that's
shouldn't even
sad.
be here."
You paid somebody to shave your head.
It's like Charlie Brown haircut.
All right, I got an old timey saying for
Okay.
you. Ready?
Yep.
Now we're on the trolley.
Like we're going the same direction.
Nope.
Now we're on the trolley. I have no idea.
So it means like we're at a party and the party's kind of not jumped off yet. Then all of a sudden everybody starts dancing and you're dancing. You're like, now we're on the trolley.
Oh, I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. When we were in New Orleans, people do not call the streetcar a trolley. They're like, nope, it's a streetcar, not a trolley.
I don't think I would use trolley.
You use streetcar?
I don't.
What's the difference? I don't know if there's even a difference.
Well, now we're on it. So
We're on the trolley now.
yeah, I wouldn't know. I don't know. That's a beige flag for me.
I got a top 8 things from the 80s that are no longer around.
Oh,
Okay? You got to guess. I'll
Go.
tell you if it's on there.
Now, when you say things,
Things that do not exist anymore. They are not around in the way they were then.
well,
There's modern versions, but they are not them.
video rental stores.
Video rental stores. So Blockbuster is not in the top 8. It's in the top 10.
Okay.
But yes, video rental stores is would be on the list.
Home
Do
telephones.
you miss video stores?
Yes and no.
I think working there, I don't miss it. I think that people that didn't work there have an idea of it in their mind of how cool it was, and they forget that they drove somewhere with someone to find a movie that wasn't there,
Yeah.
and then they had to settle on a movie, and then that was the only choice for the
There's
night.
a certain amount of nostalgia, I think,
But
that comes with
it's purely. Did you ever did you ever rent a movie or take a movie home like for a date and stuff, and you're like, this is just terrible? I have
Oh,
a really,
I
I have
mean,
a
of
great
course.
bad date story.
it. Well, you want to do that or do this?
Let's do this first, but I have
Yeah,
a great
save
bad
your
date
bad
story.
date. So wait, what did I say? The second one, home telephone.
Home telephone? No, people still have home telephones.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, like fax machines and stuff still use them. People still use fax machines.
Okay. Jeez, what's not around anymore that used to be around?
Yep.
I'm blanking.
I mentioned one earlier. It's the number 1 thing on the list.
Oh, arcades.
Arcade's number 4. Yeah.
But they are. Dave and Buster's and stuff are all over the place.
Yeah, but it's like adults. It's not really targeting.
How about
the
shopping
youths.
malls?
Shopping malls are still around.
But they don't exist the way they used to.
Well, like the
This
Valley
list is
Plaza is a full
bull
store, has stores and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
not
yeah,
dead.
You're right.
There's some huge malls.
Um,
The Mall of America.
how about bookstores?
Bookstores are still around. Barnes and Noble. There's a lot of used bookstores, secondhand stores. New York has like 10,000 bookstores.
Slaves.
Yeah, those are not around. They were around in the 80s.
A lot
Yeah,
of 'em are-
yeah. People don't remember that. 80s were tough.
I don't know. I feel like things are still around.
So some of these are pretty specific. You
Give me
ready?
a hint.
Related to computers.
Like dial-up.
Well, that's internet, I guess. But dial-up, I guess, the first sense. It's not on the top 8.
So
but
like
probably
a
is on the
floppy disk.
list. Floppy disk is 8. Yeah, the floppy disk is 8. Think about stuff at our friend Jason's mom's house.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably what I'm
That's like
thinking
the
of,
most 80s like place I can think of in my mind.
the game Dream Phone.
I don't even know what that is.
That's great. Floppy disk, more technologically based.
It could
I guess
be.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
The iPod.
Yeah. You got to go older, 80s.
80s. I don't remember.
iPod's
the
late
I was
late
drunk
90s,
in
early
the
2000s. You're like 9, 10 years
Yeah,
old.
Hammered, dude.
You and Theo Vaughn.
Yep. Roller skating rinks.
Still around. Our friend owns a roller skating company. He sells roller skates.
It's rollerblading.
They've made rollerblading. They've made a comeback.
I don't know.
So
This is hard.
VHS is gone.
Oh, I thought that was kind of under the video rental, but
No, yeah, well, I mean, I guess it is part of, but people own them.
VHS, Laserdisc.
One of the all those
records are back.
records are back.
Cassette tapes.
There you go, Walkman.
Walkman.
Yeah, the Walkman. I'll give you cassette tapes.
But
the Walkman.
Your phone is a Walkman.
Yeah, but like if you gave a Walkman to a junior higher with a cassette
They
tape,
wouldn't know it.
no
was.
chance they figure out how to get
Right.
that thing to work. Film cameras,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Everything's digital. Like even
What
movies.
about-
Movies are filmed digitally
What about
now.
toy stores?
Ooh, Toy Story is not on the list, but that's a good one. And we went to Macy's. You know, Macy's bought Toys R Us.
I did not know that.
So my
I'm not
son,
up on my Macy's stuff like I want to be.
yeah, right. It's a little bit niche.
It's a little niche for me.
Yeah, like when we were in New York a couple years ago with Hudson, we were walking around Macy's, and the Macy's in New York is 9 stories. It's a city block, but they have one of the floors has a huge Toys R Us, and which was cool. But the local Macy's has one section of the kids area is a Toys R Us, and my son loves it. For me, I'm going, it's so depressing to know what Toys R Us once was and how fun it was to go and to look at the video game covers and to see all the toys and to walk the aisles and to then go into this little tiny area in a department store and go, this is it. This is the end of it. There's nothing left.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I'm glad the brand's around, but like, it's so different from the 80s to today.
Well, it's weird, like shopping for kids' Christmas gifts, and you're like, well, where do you go?
Amazon.
Yeah.
We order everything online almost.
What about dude, I just lost it. I had a good one. Toy stores. Oh, music stores, like buying records and CDs and stuff.
I will give you that. It's related to number 5. It's the MTV music videos.
But there's music videos all over the place.
People post them on YouTube and stuff, but it's not the same. It's not in the same way. I didn't realize that artists were still putting out music videos.
My
wife
would
told
also
me.
say that music videos are more important to artists now than they were.
What's the only way to build your individual brand? I think it's like comedy. Getting a special back in the day and getting music videos on TV, major career. Like you would sell hundreds of thousands of albums with a music video
Just
on TV.
one music video.
But like an artist might put a music video out and you might not see it for years and years and years. Aaron, there's this guy, Noah Kahn.
Okay.
And he's really talented artist. He sings a lot about Vermont. That's where he lived and grew up and stuff.
Sounds thrilling.
He has a fun. He sang the song. I don't know. Has Sticks in the title. Whatever. Stick Season, I think, is the name of the song. He sang it on Nate Bargatze's Nashville Christmas special.
Okay.
It's really good. He's a talented guy. But my wife goes, yeah, he got big during COVID on TikTok, like online.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he had been an artist, a musician for 15 years.
Yeah.
And had been writing thousands of songs, had been performing, and then he got big. And I think that's the Delulu part of the modern world is
no cap.
Yeah, that's right. People think that they're going to get big just by getting online. You're like, I'm going to get big. You're like, dude, these people have been performing for. There's a video of Chapel Roan doing Peak Pony Club.
Yeah.
Okay. Like when she was 16 years old at like a park with her own keyboard, just her. There's no costumes. She's just singing. There's probably like 20 kids listening to it. And they're like, yeah. And then she's on Saturday Night Live doing the same song. You go, well, it's 10 years. She's been doing the same song for 10 years. You go, how did she, what? You go, she's put in the time, man. These people have put in the time.
Yeah.
People don't see the behind the scenes putting in the time.
Yeah, I think that at any given time, there's probably less than 150 successful artists in all art disciplines combined that are under the age of 30.
Right.
Most are late 30s, 40s.
Yeah. What's the old Nate Bargatze thing in comedy? You make it at 20, you make it at 40.
Right.
Well, like Taylor Swift's mid-30s.
Yeah.
She's like 35, 36, something like that.
Yeah. But she was famous young, so people think it happens young.
But
it does for some people.
She was successful young.
But most people.
But she is stratospheric now. Like
most people get success in any part of life in their 40s.
Right.
30s, you figure it out. 40s, you make money.
Yeah. The only one you don't have on here is just no way you get is parachute pants, which are weirdly making a comeback thanks to Japanese style.
I think they're back, dude.
I think they're back. This is
so that's a little, but the list is hard because that's fairly specific. Because I'd have to think of pants.
Right.
Be like, well, pants are
it's
still
style, but it's a style of pants.
Yeah.
The hammer pants, I guess.
Pogs.
I've weirdly seen some videos of people playing Pogs online in like the last month.
Get those slammers, dude.
Yeah, dude, just pop these Pogs.
I'm trying to think of other things.
Have you watched Beast Games?
I haven't seen it, which I should because our friend is on it.
Our friend is on it. 412, I think is our friend Dan Betts.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I think that's his number.
Don't tell
412.
me. I don't know. Actually, I don't know how.
It's totally
how he does.
Worth watching. Mr. Beast's game show is wild. The way it starts is so great.
Is he good on it? Do they feature him at all?
He has in the first episode he has about 3 seconds of screen time.
That's good.
But like distinct, like that's him. There's no question. You're not like
That's
it wasn't
cool.
like a pan by.
Good
You're like
for him.
that's my friend. And I won't give anything away, but the way the show is it's great, man. It's the most cutthroat. The way Mr. Beast did this show, like just offering money, going, hey, if you self-eliminate, I'm going to give you a ton of money. If you want out, you can make a ton of money. And just how it escalates and just the backstabbing that happens immediately. You just watch devastation on people's face. It's it's so worth watching.
I'll have to watch it.
It's
Is
so worth watching.
Is it long?
40 minutes, 40-minute episodes.
How many episodes?
There's 3 released.
Oh, it's still going. It's like
It's a series. It's on Amazon Prime.
Okay, I'll check out
Yeah,
a
yeah.
couple episodes.
I've watched the first episode. It's worth watching.
I mean, I just started the series The Pacific, the one that's related to Band of Brothers. So
Oh, I haven't seen that.
that's how far back I am
Yeah.
with catching up on television.
My son got a little horse that's motorized for Christmas, and
That's cute.
it has a saddle. It's a Yellowstone saddle.
Mm-hmm.
Never seen any episodes of Yellowstone
It's-
or any of the spinoffs. I heard it's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
It's
It
like a
makes-
soap opera, right? Like Dynasty.
It is.
Okay.
It's very good.
Which
It
is
makes you want to be
80s and
more
modern 80s.
It makes you want to be more masculine.
Okay. Did it make you feel like you were less masculine?
Not in that way, like in the weak way. It's just like you see how like the one guy that has like the crazy wife, he's like just so calm and accepting of her, and you're like, you know what I'm saying? Like just not I shouldn't say masculine, just like makes you want to be like so secure in yourself that like nothing phases
Oh, I
you.
see what you're saying. Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. Like modern
So
insecurities.
that's not masculine. I think it's more of emotional and intelligence, probably.
Do you think that's just like the life of a cowboy is just so hard that the ability to endure and endure and endure?
But it's this idea that you don't feel like they're suppressing.
Okay.
They're just accepting. It's different.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's more like it's more. It's more honest or something.
Do you think that people that have watched all of the Yellowstone and spinoffs are emotionally healthier, or is that their outlet? So
No,
they don't have
I
to be
think
emotionally
all,
healthy.
I think all the women want a man that just is quiet, that just handles their shit, and all the men like have this fantasy that they could make it on a ranch. Just not a chance.
I couldn't. No chance.
No.
It's hard.
Those guys are tough dudes, man.
Yeah.
Those are real men.
Right.
Not that you're not a real man if you do other things, but in the traditional sense, those guys are men, dude.
I like the idea that all of those guys playing real men are just professionally trained actors.
They're just actors.
They're the guys that real cowboys might be like, is this guy a real man?
No, that guy was in Brigadoon when he was 12.
He's dancing and
Yeah.
playing the trombone.
Yeah, he's like just he was doing the dance contest at the local fair,
Right. Yeah.
He loves musicals.
Loves them.
Sings along to Wicked.
I told my wife, I go, if we want our son, if we want to find out if he's gay, we just give him a Wicked jacket. And she just started laughing.
See if he wears it.
Yeah, I love musicals though. But I think that we should make him watch the musicals like Seven Brides for Seven Brothers or Kiss Me Kate, both of which have men that spank women like in a disciplinary manner.
That's
Like
funny.
there's a scene in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers where he takes the lady over his knees and spanks her, and there's a little girl watching, and the interaction is basically like, did she do something wrong? Yeah, she did, but she'll learn. What? And I'm like, what a wild, like the 50s. This is how society was. It's
Do
like,
you think that it was actually like that?
no, I think in
Well-
the 50s they actually, or the 1890s, they didn't spank him. I think that they actually just hit him.
Well, no. What
I think
mean
the spanking is the polite way of
so I
showing
just
it on
watched-
screen.
I just went down to the Fox Theater in town and watched It's a Wonderful Life on
Yeah.
the big screen, which is awesome. But there's this scene in there where he came over and he's like all grumpy, and this other guy calls, and they're talking on the phone, and it's his old friend, and so their like faces are really close, and he's kind of frustrated, and then like his frustration builds to the point where he just grabs her shoulders and he just kisses her like really violently.
Oh yeah, right.
And then they instantly fall in love.
Yeah.
Do you think that was a thing?
Yes.
That actually like that was like you had to like was that the move back then?
I watched a bunch of 80s Magnum PI getting ready to go to Hawaii. He did it all the time, man. Get off me. James Bond. James Bond forcibly kisses women in all of the early 60s and 70s movies. And then they fight back. He forces another kiss, and then they relent.
Does that?
Yeah, I think that
was it real, or was that men writing scripts because that's how they wanted?
Oh, I think that it's probably the latter. I think it's probably men who weren't kissing women like that. That went. That's how I would want it to be.
Take it.
Yeah, like if I was Sean Connery, if I was James Bond.
Well, I mean, the one thing for sure we
the
know
hottest woman in the room.
You know that men weren't asking permission.
No, they were not.
Consent only existed for 5 years.
Yeah, not very long. Since the internet. A positive part of the internet, I would say.
Positive.
Yeah.
But it's an interesting thing because it's in so many movies in that time that I'm like, was it? And because, you hear these stories like, well, I was at the diner and he came over to me and he introduced himself and then we got married on Thursday.
Right, yeah. Well, I think in the time where it was like war, maybe. I think that was like the wartime marriages, maybe.
Yeah. When did that stop? Like,
I don't know. Well, I don't know. 60s probably.
Well, and
the free love movement, like broader feminist movement, probably.
I watched Fast Times at Ridgemont High the other day as well, and like the girls in there are 15 and 14, or 14 and 15. That's the same thing. I just said it in reverse. But like, she's going on a date with a 25-year-old, and like nobody seems to think that's a problem.
Oh yeah, there's a video that's been around for a while. It's about like some rock concert, like big thing, and he's like, I'm Liam, and I'm 20, pumped to be here. And then there's a girl next to him. She says, I'm Denise, I'm 13. And then there's somebody else, and he goes, yeah. And then the 13-year-old and the 20-year-old just start making out, and you're like,
yeah. I remember girls that were like 15 dating 20, 22-year-old guys when they were young.
Yeah.
And that wasn't a thing.
No.
At all.
No, yeah. It didn't seem to be. Well, it's like all these rock stars are like, oh, man, he slept with a girl that was like 15 years old, and she was a groupie. And you're like, yeah, did you see Almost Famous? The whole movie is that they're all underage. But then those underage people back now are like, hey, this was wrong. And you're like, yeah, no shit, it was wrong. But like, there's a weird cultural aspect that was creating this really wrong situation that existed.
It stems out of, like, if you go, that probably ends in the late 80s. This idea that that's not a social faux pas necessarily.
Yeah. By the time we got into the 90s, I feel like people were like, dude, you should not be dating somebody that was 20 if you're 15, 16.
Yeah. It's so fascinating that was... it's a good thing.
Oh, yeah. Like, society is better now for...
But I think it's still... So I still think, if you really think the 80s still had held some of the innocence of the 50s.
Yes.
And a lot of the same rules of the 50s we still carried through 60s, 70s, 80s.
Yeah.
And I think that it finally... Yeah, I don't know.
People still hitchhiked.
Exactly, yeah.
In the 90s, I don't think that many people were hitchhiking anymore.
No, but I think it was about the reason why people thought it was okay, because I think society still felt that women needed help, and therefore they needed a man. And if any man is willing to take you in, then that's a good thing, even if you're 15.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
And that's why.
Isn't that crazy?
Could you imagine, like, your
My daughter's 17.
Could you imagine her dating... like an 19
anyone? No.
Yeah, I
know. No. Well, she's going to go away to college. I like the idea of her dating a 20-year-old or a 22-year-old.
Which is what's going to happen.
Right. Seems crazy. Crazy to me. Like, I don't even want to think. I want to kill you for even bringing it up.
But it's just as weird as the senior guy that dated the freshman girls.
You're lucky.
Are you trying to force hand me, dude?
If I could use the force, I would have choked you out.
You gotta let somebody live.
The freshman girl dating the senior guy was very common.
Yeah,
but the fact that she's now
gross.
a sophomore and he's a freshman in college, immediately disgusting.
Well, also immediately illegal.
Yeah, it's super weird, man.
Yeah, it's interesting, like, that you think all of those things went away in, like, the 60s.
No, yeah.
But they didn't. It was so much longer.
Yes.
And
well, like, think about how long ago the 80s were.
Yeah.
The 80s to the 50s, those are closer than we are to the 80s.
Yeah, it's so wild, dude.
Like, 1984 is 40 years ago. 40.
Yeah, that's so...
From 84 to 54 is only 30 years. We're a decade further away from the 80s than the 80s were from the 50s.
So what's like a social thing now that is a hang on from? Is there anything left that's a hanger on from like
I think that like
the 80s even that you think will be like a faux pas? Because I think what happened is society was like, well, let's just try and correct all this shit.
yeah.
And they went through checking the box of every single possible thing that was wrong or iffy. And did we run out of stuff to complain not to complain about, to that needs to be changed? And now it's like
now the pendulum's going to swing back.
Recorrect into a little, yeah.
I think
is that what
like,
we see happening?
I think that going out and drinking in bars is become more of a thing than it was.
Oh, it's interesting because what I understand is that there's more of a growth for like people that aren't drinking. Like your kids' generation will be like not a bunch of alcohol.
Oh, I mean like from our generation. I think that there was a time period where they weren't going out, and then now in our 40s, people are like, oh, I'm going to go to this bar, this bar, and this bar. That's like the bars are a little classier. They're not dive bars, so like there's a little more element of like, oh, it's more of a event. You're not going to hang out in a bar and just drink. It feels like almost like more like what you would think in the 20s, though.
I'm definitely.
You're like in the 20s where people would go, and the bar wasn't just sitting in a bar with just, that guy.
No, there was dancing and there was
there was it was an activity. It was active. I think that has risen. I think our generation is that. I do think that my kids' generation is more stay at home.
Yeah.
My kids stay in their rooms. They go into their rooms. They get online. They watch YouTube videos on their phones. They are on TikTok. They're not necessarily creating. This was like one thing I would always encourage people, young people, is.
Ooh, life lesson from David.
But this is what I tell students.
I like this.
I go, start a YouTube channel. Start doing it. Just do it.
Because it's something to do.
Yeah. Also, you might get good at something in 5 years, and you're going to be 20. If you start at 15, and then you're good at it at 20, and from 20 to 25, you can be exceptional at it. Now you're way ahead of everybody, and you're probably making money more than most of the adults that went to college during this time period.
Also, if like,
and you've been doing it for a decade. If you start at 15,
also I think
I'm starting it. We're starting a podcast in our mid 40s.
Yeah,
we're going to be in our 50s by the time we get good.
And if you have a generation of people that are essentially idle, if you just try a little bit, you'll destroy everybody.
Way ahead. What's the person's like? If you spend 12 minutes a day doing something in a year, you'll be better than 95% of the population at that thing.
Yeah.
It's not a lot.
I do try to ascribe to that.
I read this thing today. What do you think about this? It's better to build strategies than have goals.
Yes, I'm completely anti-goal.
Okay, so what makes you anti-goal?
Well,
and we've talked a little bit about it before,
but I find in my life when I have set a goal, and that could be a very difficult goal. Like when I was like a kid, and I was like, I'm gonna have my art in a museum. That was the goal.
Okay,
that was the drive. The drive wasn't to be an artist. It was I'm gonna get in there.
Fame.
And then when it happened,
was it like a fame thing?
No, it just like it was a credibility thing, probably more than anything. But I never really care about. I mean, fame, I guess, is entwined in it. It definitely wasn't financial. But when I got that opportunity and it happened, I literally didn't make art again for another 5 years. I'm just starting. I'm making paintings again now.
Right.
Because the goal, I wasn't doing it for the right thing. And they say, like, if you want to, I'm going to run a marathon. And you do all this training, you run a marathon, and as soon as you're done running a marathon, a lot of people don't run anymore.
Oh, okay.
Because they did the thing. So I think I'm really a big fan of the Atomic Habits book, which is
the James Clear book.
Yeah, which is building incremental things, and you got to become the thing so that you just do it.
Runners run marathons.
So
runners run.
So if you're a runner, you will run a marathon.
It's like writers that go, you want to know what makes a writer a writer?
They're writing.
Writing.
Yeah.
Not publishing. You're a published writer.
Yeah.
But being a writer is you just write.
So I do think for me, I'll give you another, like a recent example is when I'm in the recovery program and I had my brain like, once I get to 30 days sober, then I'm coasting. I hit 30 days, day 31, I drink.
Yeah.
Because it was such a... And if I was just... And so now I'm not even counting. I don't count my days. I have an app that does it. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. and I'm just doing the work to make it part of my life.
The strategies.
Yeah.
I like it. What do you think is this? Like, let's go back to art. What's the difference between? So what would be like building strategies for art as an artist? What makes an artist? I guess.
Well, I think the one thing you need to make it like a part of your existence, and I don't mean like who you are. I just mean like an artist paints or draws or sculpts, so you have to do that. So it's like building a routine that allows you to do some of that every day, and really just like structurally creating your life around the ability to get to do it.
That makes sense.
So the best artists I know show up at the studio the same time every day. They leave the same studio the same time every day. They don't wait around for inspiration. They just go, oh no, making art is actually not the idea. It's the act of doing the thing. So I think removing this thing that it needs to be great or it needs to be some grand.
The feeling, the emotion of like, I'm feeling the inspiration.
No, it's like, if you're a writer, write even if you have nothing to write about.
Yeah.
If you're a dancer, just dance.
I've heard Jerry Seinfeld talk about George Burns.
Right.
So George Burns has a book, and in it he outlines his routine. Even when he was like 60, 70 years old, he had an office. He had an assistant in the office, and he would show up at like 10 o'clock every day, and they would work until like noon, and they would go over sketches or monologues or roast things or whatever he was going to have to do coming up. And then at noon he left. And he did that every day for two hours. And Jerry Seinfeld's like, I just took that.
Right.
I write. This is what I do is I write during these 2 hours.
Right.
And you just show up. And you get good at the thing because you're showing up every single day. And then every once in a while you're like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's a thing. Let me mine that. And you spend 2 hours mining something. And all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is something.
I think, and it really is the Atomic Habits thing. It's like, to be an artist, you need to go to the studio,
right,
to make art. So step one is go to the studio. So even if you just went to the studio,
right,
you were an artist that day.
Doesn't he have it in his book? If you're going to run or go to the gym, the first thing you do is just put your workout clothes next to the bed.
Yeah, like
so you get up and you're like, that's what I do.
So like for me, it's like I leave my supplies out because I'm more likely to walk by it and just do a little thing.
Yeah,
make it easy, so I don't have to put everything up and away, and it's not. You see what I'm saying?
So there's a little bit of like you have dedicated space to these things.
I mean, I got into the trap when I moved home. My space. I went from a huge building, so I can make things at a scale, and then I moved here and I have no space, and that really was like, well, I can't make what I want to make, so I just didn't make anything.
Okay.
And so I finally got to the point where I was like, well, I'm just going to shrink everything down and make it to where I could just do it in this room and rid myself of this silly need that something has to be grand.
Yeah.
It's like the thing that's fulfilling me is the act of doing it. So
That's
like, why does it have to be some massive, impressive thing?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So keep it small, keep it simple.
I like it.
That's a great book. I mean, I really think building small routines is really, really important, you know? 'Cause even like I do a lot of journaling. I've done that since I've got sober, and I read a lot, and I really started building these like morning routines that help me stay sober, right? So, but when I had a relapse, I had been doing those things enough that I was drinking and still doing those things. So they became a part of me.
It's just now
and it made it less challenging to get restarted.
To get back into.
Because I never really stopped. I just drank.
You're right.
But I didn't stop the working part.
And then the drinking part is just, this isn't my habit.
No, and it starts to go away.
Start dropping that habit.
Yeah, because but you didn't lose all this work you put in.
Right.
And I think it's easy for us to start on an endeavor and then hit a roadblock and be like, well, that's all that. I got to start over. And you're like, well, no, it's not starting over.
Yeah, right.
You already did a bunch of stuff.
Well, like I have journals for comedy going back to 2019 in my notes app, and then 2020 writing when I started doing sets. And so 5 years. And there'd be like gaps where I didn't write in a physical journal. I wrote in my iPad. then there'd be like months but like if I didn't write for like a month, it wasn't like I didn't write for 5 years. I go, oh, let me go back to those ideas. Let me come back to it, and I go, oh, I have the muscle memory of like, well, let's get back into it. It wasn't like these things went away because I stopped doing it for like a short period of time. Yeah. Well, you stopped doing comedy for 8 years and then came back and
10.
Jumped back, and you're like, oh, it comes back. You're like, I did enough of it to where I can get back on.
Because you didn't lose. I remember my friend.
You didn't lose the funny.
He's a very funny comedian in New York. His name's George Gordon. And I did a show when I turned 40 and hadn't done a show in 8 years at that point. And it went really, really well. I did like a 30-minute set, and I walk off stage and he goes, "Yeah, you don't lose the funny, man.
You don't lose the funny."
Like once you
I remember you
figure it
telling
out.
me that.
Now I've lost it on stage many times since then. But yeah, I think that I try to live in that space right now.
Yeah. Do you feel like
keep things small?
Do you critique your routines, or do you just go, nope, I'm just going to add a little detail into it? Because I know Atomic Habits, he's not about like, he doesn't really revise the routine so much as it's just like adding little details or subtracting little details once you
critique them. I do try to look for things that are relatable to the thing that I'm doing anyway, and go ahead and do those now.
Oh, okay. So like, oh, I'm waiting for coffee. I'm in the kitchen. I can do the dishes.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, you're not like, I'm waiting for coffee and now I'm going to go paint because you know your coffee's going to interrupt that.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes sense.
Taking a dump, my pants are down. I should probably touch myself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're already there.
You're stacking those.
You're already. It's Daniel Tosh, my wife, and I. She loves her favorite special. I think is Happy Thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great special. We watched a little bit last night, and he talks about sitting reverse on the toilet. He goes, "I've been doing this wrong my whole life." He goes, "I can sit on the toilet and I can have a bowl of cereal just right there."
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
It's a very funny joke.
But so I don't critique it, but I kind of like trying to make things more a part of like me, as opposed to like, oh, these are the things I do. It's just like it becomes a personal rituals, like a habit. It actually is part of you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even think to do some of this stuff anymore.
Well,
it hasn't even been that long. It took me a long time. I've tried that many times.
Yeah. But I think that in the process of trying it a lot of times, there are aspects of that attach. And you're like, oh, I'm actually not starting back with I need to create better habits. I actually have a couple of things that are there that I did long enough to go back to that there's a little bit more of a foundation each time as you revise.
Or you have something to go back to that you go, well, nothing's working now. Okay, when I did this, that worked. Okay, well, maybe I'll give that a shot again.
Yeah.
And there's kind of a weird muscle memory, I guess, you know.
I like it.
Yeah. It's brother to brother.